Hello and welcome to Virginia International Raceway. We are back just outside of Danville, Virginia. I'm Jason Pridmore, and thank you for joining us for another edition of MotoAmerica Raceline. I'm going to have Ben Wilson on here in a minute, and it is so good to be back in this area of the world and having VIR back on the schedule, Ben. And we had a really entertaining Laguna Seca. Like you said, I'm bummed that you're not sitting right next to me this morning.
You got it, Jason. We're now into the start of August here, which means home stretch for MotoAmerica, and I'm pumped to see how this all plays out because across both the classifications we'll talk about today, we had a lot, I think, of unexpected results that happened over the 3-5 combined races at Laguna Seca, and how it now plays out for the standings here. Talking Superbike first is, while Josh Herrin has continued to extend his lead, now 31 points ahead of Cam Beaubier, Bobby Fong, he's in the mix now as a possible third championship contender. He moves to third ahead of Jake Gagne in the standings, and he's only 6 back at Cam Beaubier, Jason. So I'm fascinated to see, will that just be a one-weekend trend for Fong or something to keep an eye on moving forward now?
Well, I really think that Bobby Fong is going to be a guy to beat this weekend, even here at VIR. We haven't been back here, like we've said, in a couple of years. But he's got some real momentum right now. And I think at Laguna Seca, people were really looking at Herrin and Beaubier as the two guys, which we normally would do that anyways. But Bobby Fong was not really a surprise to me. But I think to win the way he did was really good for our series.
As far as the futures go, you wonder, is it too many points to clear? It's 37 points if you look at where Fong is at compared to Josh Herrin now with 4 race weekends still to go. Herrin in the futures, wow, minus 910. So the odds makers are telling you this is basically all but over. Cam Beaubier just over 3.5 to 1. Bobby Fong outside 13 to 1, and that's probably where you make the cutoff. But I certainly thought watching it at Laguna Seca last week, JP, Josh Herrin showed us why. Even after an injury and a crash in the first leg of qualifying, he still was able to be so workmanlike, so professional, right, in the way he went about that race weekend. Even if it was only 1 win, it is still 10 straight podiums for Herrin, and hard not to believe that's a correct odd without the point standings that move in his favor here at 31.
Yeah, Josh is absolutely on a roll right now. He's riding amazing. Team is doing a great job. He's going to tracks that he loves. But do you remember a few weeks ago when Matthew Schultz in our Supersport was a big plus money number and we said grab it while you can? Right now, I think that this is the time that you would grab a Cameron Beaubier at that plus 365. He has to win, Ben. He's in a position now where he's got to stop the momentum of Josh Herrin. If he wins or does a double this weekend, those odds are going to go way down for Cam Beaubier. We still have a lot of racing to go. So just based off the numbers here, I would grab Cam Beaubier at 365, just sprinkle a little something on it for the rest of the season.
It's a great strategy, and especially, too, if you're playing futures, the way to do it is you have a portfolio that you build from the start of the year, and if you had Josh Herrin earlier in the year, you were getting at a 4-5 to 1 sort of clip. It also leads into what to expect here for the race 1 odds. Josh Herrin is now the favorite, plus 147. Cam Beaubier not far behind. What is really interesting to note, we have our producer Greg Oldham put together a really cool graphic on this. We'll show it in a second, JP, is how the way the odds fluctuate all season. This is the shortest Josh Herrin has been the entire 2025 campaign. And by contrast, it is the longest Cam Beaubier has been. So to your point exactly, if there was ever a time to look to buy low on a guy who has tremendous pedigree, coming off an awful race weekend at Laguna Seca with that crash around the turn 1 in race number 1 for Beaubier, this would be it. Plus 155 is the best number you've gotten all year, and by a pretty wide margin.
Yeah, there's no question. And I think, 8 to 1 on Bobby Fong this weekend, why wouldn't you do something there as well? I think that's, I'm not going to say it's disrespectful, but when you look at a guy that just came off pretty much a dominant weekend for him, and let's not forget, he finished second in race 1, not that far behind Herrin, goes out, wins both races, as we said, comes into VIR, a track that I think he'll go very well at, and I think the Yamaha will do very, very well at. 8 to 1, Bobby could be there as well.
And no doubt, well, you look at those odds as well and how you saw the average, the shortest, the longest. You would assume if you're coming off 2 race wins, the next week would be your shortest odds of the year. But I was stunned. Yes, Bobby Fong, he's still sitting there in the near 9 to 1 range. That, to me, is a tremendous value on a rider. And Fong, who does at least have experience here, and Fong will be a part of our head-to-head as well. Cam Beaubier, Josh Herrin, that will be the first head-to-head. But when you think about where these lines are, Jason, I'd rather just take a Cam Beaubier at a plus 155 here than the minus 110 in the head-to-head against Josh Herrin. Herrin has really dominated the head-to-head as of recently, as you were just talking about.
Well, let's just talk about Herron again for a second here. He has been so dominant that this might be the first time in maybe 3 or 4 years that Cam Beaubier hasn't come into a race. I know he's only been back in our paddock for this is his 3rd year, but what I'm saying, Cam Beaubier, when he comes into MotoAmerica weekends, essentially, Ben, he's always favorite, always. And now we've seen that trend change as you see Josh Herron is the betting favorite against Beaubier this weekend. But again, I think I would take Cam at the plus money on the race wins rather than do a head-to-head.
Sure thing. Keep in mind, Josh Herron, 31 points up right now. Last time we were at VIR, Herron left the weekend up 31 points in the Supersport classification. Here's a good one, though. Bobby Fong, minus 112. Jake Gagne's favored, minus 118. Gagne, really what you're banking on here, JP, would be the history for Gagne. He's won the last 4 Superbike races at VIR, but that was 2021 and 2022. Fong has outperformed Gagne 6 of the last 8 races. So it's a fascinating juxtaposition here, right? The hot rider who's in great form versus a guy who's trying to turn back the clock this week.
Look, this is basically an even money bet almost. And it's like if you had anything, Ben, you'd kind of just switch those numbers and it really wouldn't change anything for me. This is too close to call. Gagne still, I think, is coming back to the fitness with his arm. Even though he says he's doing good, he's been able to show some one-lap pace. He was even getting closer to those guys in 2 of the races at Laguna and just fell off at the end as far as pace went. So, yeah, this is too close to call, but I think Bobby would be the favorite here, just by a hair.
I consider Jake Gagne for the full race, plus 787 over Bobby Fong. Our final head-to-head here in the Superbike, Richie Escalante. We were talking about him at Laguna Seca, JP, and it was I wouldn't say a total weekend to forget. He had the crash in qualifying, but he has finished top 6 in the last 9 races, while Sean Dillon Kelly also has had some struggles as of late. SDK, the big favorite in this one.
Yeah, the DNF, the 4th, and the DNF for SDK isn't really indicating the pace that he has. He has shown a little bit more pace than Richie this year. You could put a little something on Sean Dillon Kelly, I think, this weekend at those numbers. It is a big number, but SDK has definitely shown just a little bit more pace.
As we transition to the Supersport, so can't wait to see how the Superbike plays out. Supersport, it will be yet another chapter in this budding rivalry between PJ Jacobsen and Matthew Skoltz. 1-2 in the standings, but that gap has really tightened up ever since at the Ridge when Skoltz was nearly 2.5 to 1 in the futures board. He has outperformed Jacobsen ever since. We also have Blake Davis, who is in the mix, who's won the last 2 races. It might not matter as far as the actual championship standings go for a title, but this is how it looks right now, JP, and as far as the futures, I mean, it is basically pick your winner between Skoltz and Jacobsen at this point.
Yeah, let's not forget, things got pretty chippy at Laguna Seca, and I think that those 2 championship points leaders, if they're not careful, that young guy behind him, Blake Davis, who did the double at Laguna Seca, he's hungry to try to chip away at these points. As we look at the Futures Supersport Championship odds to win, Matthew Skoltz, just like we had thought a few weeks ago, he has now turned the script. He is actually the betting favorite here. Blake Davis at basically 46 to 1. That's some big odds to come back, maybe a little bit too far back in the championship. It looks like it's going to be the 2 guys at the front that will settle this.
Yeah, you're talking 38 points from Davis right now behind Jacobsen. However, JP, that doesn't necessarily mean, at least for the single race odds, that it's a bad bet to look at a guy like Blake Davis. And that's my big question to you. Do you see what happened last week as being a harbinger of things to come? Because I'm looking at the odds and well, here he is, nearly 14 to 1, and he's not even the 3rd favorite behind the 2 stalwarts in the classification, Jacobsen and Skoltz this week.
Mostly history, like you say, history at this track. I think probably the last time we were here with Blake, he might have been racing Junior Cup or maybe Twins Cup. But the thing is, he doesn't have as many laps as the guys that you see in front of him. Man, you would take him on that number. Definitely would sprinkle a little something on it as well.
Yeah, the thing to remember about Matthew Skoltz is we'll look at the head-to-head between these top 2 riders. Last time MotoAmerica was at VIR, Skoltz was racing Superbike. He was 2nd in both races, had a double podium in 2021. So the pedigree is certainly higher than Skoltz with a minus 125 number against PJ Jacobsen, who has raced here, but it was back in the Superbike 7th and 5th, respectively, JP, back in 2022.
Yeah, too close. These guys are going to be hammering and tonging at each other as far as the race goes this weekend and for the rest of the season. Too close to call.
Here are the head-to-heads, though, I'm pumped to get into. All right, Blake Davis first. He is 5th in the championship, minus 120, coming off his best weekend of the year, as we just discussed. Can't do any better than a nice little sweep at Laguna Seca. 3 wins, 4 podiums in his last 5 races. Meanwhile, Jake Lewis, who we were really thrilled to bet on last week, and then he comes out with an injury, did not start at the weekend. He was outside the top 6 his previous 4 races. Davis minus 120, Lewis minus 110, and Davis, Jason, has won 8 of the last 10 head-to-heads.
Yeah, well, there's no question here. Jake, we just got to worry about his health. Obviously, we saw him on the ground at Laguna Seca in a very unfortunate incident. It was literally just a racing incident. I don't know how healthy he is. Yeah, I know he's back. But, man, Blake Davis has got all the momentum. And with the line this close, you definitely would have to look at Blake Davis here.
And we have gotten some good value on these head-to-heads. We saved our favorite one for last, JP, Kayla Yakov, who's really been disrespected by the betting market. There were a couple races she wasn't even listed on the odds. Well, here Kayla Yakov is 6th in the championship, minus 116 in the head-to-head against David Anthony, who is minus 114. All Yakov has done, if you compare her against Anthony, has gone 9-0-1 in head-to-heads this year. So I don't know what I'm missing, but minus 116, that feels a tad cheap on Kayla Yakov.
And I believe the one was when she didn't finish. So this is kind of a head-scratcher to me. You're going to go with Kayla. No disrespect to David. She's on the Rahal Ducati team. She's young. She's got momentum. She's continuously pulling that bike off the trailer on Fridays and being way more comfortable. This is an easy one for me. We're going to go with Kayla.
Let's do it. For the riders making their first trip here to VIR, Jason, they haven't been here before. What's the biggest thing in the challenge that you're going to be watching out for here as they take a hold to a new track they haven't been at? It's
an interesting track, Ben, in the entrance. We have 3 very heavy braking areas, and they're basically all up and down. There's not a lot of places where you trail off into the turns here. There's one place, maybe turn 3 or 4, I believe it is, the lefts. Getting used to the layout is relatively easy. The track is narrow, offers some good passing opportunities, but there's going to be strategy, and I think weather can play into this if it gets really hot. This is a very difficult and physical track as the heat index goes up.
Yep, fascinating to see how that all plays out as we take a look, kind of recapping our best bets. Cam Beaubier, a chance to jump on him, plus 365 on the futures. We'll pair that with our earlier bet from this season, JP, when we were on Josh Herrin at 4.5 to 1. So we'll combine both of those. If you bet both of them, you feel like you're basically you're guaranteed
you're hedging,
a winner there
right?
in the futures market. Yeah, no doubt on that. Also, Bobby Fong at near 9 to 1, a good value bet to win the race in the Superbike. Supersport, we'll look at Blake Davis, 14 to 1, and then the head-to-heads. Davis minus 120 over Jake Lewis, and Kayla Yakov minus 116 over David Anthony. Reminder, check out NXTbets.com/PlayMA for more betting information, as this has been the VIR edition of the MotoAmerica Race Line. For my pal Jason Pridmore, I'm Ben Wilson saying so long. We'll see you next time from Mid-Ohio.
That was a good